Welcome to the Kool, the Kareem Matthews podcast. I'm your host, Kareem Matthews, and thank you for joining us for the pioneer episode, the premiere episode. You know me, I'm going to be touching on comedy, sports, pop culture, and a splash of politics. We're going to get right to it, man. I wanted to start the first episode with one of my longtime comedy friends, man, one of my OG comedy friends. He's a comedian, actor, host of the Pocket Party podcast, philanthropist. Give it up for Mr. Darren Carter. What's up, Darren?
Yes. How are you, Kareem? Good to see you. Thanks
too,
for having
man.
me on. The very first episode. This means a lot, man. This is great because in the future, when people watch future episodes or listen to future episodes, they're always going to be like, let me see what that first one was like, and then work their way up. So I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I chose you, man, because I feel like we've been in this journey. You know what I'm saying? You're one of the people I've been in this journey with the longest. So I feel like when we look back on it, I want to look back on somebody I really knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you. You don't want to interview someone you just meet for the first time. So I just found out.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's all weird and awkward and stuff. All right, that was a 3-minute podcast. Thank you very much. For the next 3 minutes. Yeah.
Nah, man. Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy because going through the pandemic, that's one of the things I realized that I missed the most that I never thought about is seeing you guys out in public, man. Like just running into comics at spots. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the things I missed the most through this whole year, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to Joey Diaz's podcast. I don't know, 5-6 months ago, and he was talking about something that similar to that. It's like how you have your main people that that you're like you're looking forward to seeing them, but then there's all the I guess like coworkers or stuff that you didn't even realize they're part of your life as well. And you're like, wow, that one bartender, that waitress, or those comics. I don't really do gigs with them, but I see them around, and you just kind of all those people, man. Even like my local coffee shop that I would go to, and you know what I mean? Like I try a joke on them, or all those people you're not really seeing each other, and it's definitely been a trip.
No, it has been this year. I mean, for everyone, obviously. You know, I mean, it's been a change for everyone, but for comics, man, like that's kind of how we live off that energy. You know what I mean? We live off with each other's energy, sometimes good and bad, you know? So it's like I've been really shocked at how much I missed that, man.
I ran into a couple of comedy store comics. Like I think his name is Derek. I don't know his last name, but I think they like park cars, and they work. And he was there with his I think girlfriend, and he had the bandana on, and so did I. We didn't really have the mask. This is back when you could just wear the bandana. And he goes, and they had it pulled down, and as did I. And that's how we recognized each other. And he goes, man, I hate these masks, man. He goes, I didn't realize as a comedian, you rely so much on facial expressions and telling a little joke to somebody, and they give that facial. And he's like, man, he goes, I realize I do a lot of facial expressions. Other people do. He goes, I really miss that laughter and that smile, even just in public with just the day to day. And I'm like, wow, I get it, man. It's like,
Yeah, no, this has definitely been a life-changing year. And it's crazy because today is the 1-year anniversary of LA going into a lockdown. Like literally a year ago today was when Gavin Newsom was like, all right, we locking this shit down, you know?
Man, what's funny is guess where I was a year ago? I was in El Paso, Texas at the comic strip.
Oh, wow. Really?
So it was like I was on another planet because we were out there, and it was like, wow, like every day it'd be like, on Wednesday, they're canceling this show. Thursday, whatever, the Comedy Store. Friday, the Laugh Factory. Saturday, and we were out there, kept doing our shows, and it was like, okay.
Right.
And then even Sunday in Texas a year ago, it was pretty busy, and it was fun and busy. And then it was really a shock when I got off the plane, and I'm like, whoa, LA, like it was just really like
another world, right?
The reality hit me, and it was like,
But they weren't even wearing masks out there?
Not really. Not. I don't really remember a lot of masks back then, like a year ago. Like, I mean, I did see a couple people on the plane and I thought they were overreacting because that's
right,
just what I really thought, because it was a couple of bigger, larger people, and they had
right.
masks on, and I was just like, that's weird, like and I remember, you know what I mean, like it was like it was odd, and then as time has gone by, of course now we people know, but
Now you're weird without a mask.
exactly, and then you don't know, it's like it's you don't wear a mask, you wear, you're like, gosh, man, but I'd say on the positive side, there's definitely been in my life, like I've stepped up my YouTube channel, my podcast abilities, my I don't have it on me, but I bought this thing. It's called the PodTrack P4, and for like $199, it's a Zoom PodTrack recorder, and it has like has so many. I love it, man, because I can do podcasts over the phone, like not even with Zoom. Like I could literally just call you. You could be riding your bike. Like how convenient is that? Your guest could be, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
you could just, it's like reality radio. Like if you're like, hey Darren, I'm gonna go do some errands. Yeah, take me along. And I'll be like, so Kareem's walking into the coffee shop, and
Oh, interesting.
so it's great. Like I could do phone calls with it. I can use it for Zoom. Oh, see, I already put my equipment away, but and I can hold the regular microphone like on a stage, because you just plug it in. And so you plug your microphone into this Zoom PodTrack P4, and then a cable goes to your computer. So you could be like, hey, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it sounds so
and recording.
good. Yes, and it records. Yeah, and then you just take the SD card out or whatever, and
Plop it
put it
in.
in your computer, or if you're recording on Zoom, you don't even have to use the SD card. You're just. But anyways, I figured that out. I figured out how to do that. I like I saw your YouTube channel, and I subscribe, by the way.
Oh,
And
thank you. I appreciate it.
I think it's great, man. It's like, you know what I mean? This is something you're gonna realize, like the more you do this, the easier it's gonna get, and then you're gonna be able to like pump them out a little bit more frequently. And then when I first started it, like the Zoom style, it was taking me way too long to edit. Like I was, like you're already ahead because you have like you have a green screen like right now. Like before, I was, my dumbass was recording with the actual green curtain behind me.
And then, you have a green curtain?
Yeah, like the green curtain, and then I dropped it into iMovie, and then I'd add a background, and then I have to save it, and then I'd have to. It was just so many steps, and it would take me like 5 hours, man. It was just too long.
That's part of the process, though. You know what I mean? But all of this shit, it's like, it's trial and error. So,
Yeah. Like I think the first couple, I didn't use any green screen. I just had, but then my wall was very plain. It's just a white wall with I think my wife had made like some Easter bunny decorations. So, because it was this time of year.
Oh,
so I had like a Easter bunny behind me, but it looked weird. Like, was that my logo, or what the hell's going on, Darren?
He went from the rooster to the bunny.
Exactly. So then I was like, oh, I need. So here's the really the metamorphosis of it. I was like, I need to get like a cool background, something. So I actually had my son, Austin, who was 13 at the time. He was 12. He just basically hand drawn like Pocket Party Podcast, and we put that behind me. Like I taped it to the wall. It was like with on some cardboard, and it was like
fall down in the middle of episodes.
That happened. And so did the green screen. The green curtain fell down. Yeah, it was just like, yeah.
But it's crazy because that was literally happening on CNN and MSNBC now. You know what I mean? Like they were going through the same thing as us, So they were having shit falling in the background, people having dogs barking, kids running by.
I know, man. So it's
been crazy, man.
Yeah. So then once I figured that out, I was like, okay, that's a big step ahead,
Yeah, and I feel like this actually has made it a lot more convenient to do. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to get people to be guests, and then it's a lot easier to produce. Before everyone was like fearful of the fact that they thought you had to have a real studio. Like that's what held a lot of people back. But once Zoom kicked in, it was like, well, shit, I can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because people will be like I used to get this people would say, do my podcast. I'd be like, sure. And then they'd be like, yeah, it's in, and it would be some far away area. Like, it's going to be in Koreatown. We're going to do it at 5 p.m. And I'm like, gosh, traffic, parking. You start getting like, but
Right.
now it's, let's do it,
Right. Yeah. No.
Oh, I've done a few of them, literally like from my bicycle. Like I like to ride my
Mm.
bike in the afternoons, and I'm like,
So do
yeah, let's do it.
I.
Exactly. I'll just put my little tripod on and talk, and or I'll be in the car, you know.
Yeah.
So
No. It definitely has made things a lot more convenient. Have you done any Zoom shows?
yeah, and they've gone from horrible to good.
Yeah.
The first
No.
one was horrible. The first one was I did it as a favor. There's a guy that he's a comedy fan, and he's always like supports me. Like he'll retweet my tweets and share my videos. So I felt like, what, this guy's done a lot. I'll help him out. He said he's gonna do a Zoom show, and he said it was for healthcare workers. And I'm
Mm.
like, you know what? I'm in. I'll do it. I'll do like 10 minutes. And it was really hard, man, because I only saw one person. It was a kid eating cereal. So
Wow.
there's the little boxes, and the boxes, a lot of people didn't have their video on, and the couple
Mm.
that did, they were the other comedians about to perform. So as I'm performing, in my kitchen, this kid is just like eating cereal, like just like,
Right. Now,
yeah, it was
probably
so
just
weird.
like that too.
Yeah, and his mom comes up behind him. She's like, "What are you looking at? What
Oh,
is that?"
hilarious.
Like, it's so weird. And I just closed my computer. I was like, "Dang, this is weird." But then I've done some in more recent times, and you kind of get it down a little bit, and I kind of liked it. It was like, yeah, I got paid, which is great. They paid me the day before, which is
Oh, wow.
great.
Right.
So you got Venmo, boom, I got Venmo the day before. I'm like, perfect. So now I have to show up. And
Right.
what was
Right.
cool about that is I was able to like hold stuff up to the camera, because you can't really do that at a comedy club. So
Oh,
I hold up
interesting.
a
So you
couple
became
things,
a
like,
Zoom prop comic.
kind of, right? Yeah, I know. I was like, watch. Hey, look, let me show you one of the things I held up. Look, if you can still see me. So I just I was cleaning out some old magazines, and I just saw this. There's not even a joke to it. I just thought this in itself was funny. See
Oh,
this?
right. Okay.
Ice cream diet. So I think I did some jokes about dieting or something. I was like, whatever. Let's do some little throwaway joke. And I held up an old headshot of me when I had all my hair, and I told stories about that. And then
I
I just kind
remember
of
those days.
exactly. Yeah. And then, by the way, there's this website or this YouTube channel I've been checking out. It's called, I don't know how it got into my algorithms. Probably because I put up a couple bald comedy bits about being bald. But I think it's called like Bald Cafe or something like. But basically, it's guys that are losing their hair and then they shave it. They're like, well, today's the big day. And then
Oh,
they
oh,
just like
nice.
shave
Oh,
it.
that's
It's
nice.
kind of interesting. You're like, I can't believe I'm watching this, but yeah.
Right. It's funny because I was almost gonna be in that group. You know what I'm saying? I was headed that way. I'm still headed that way, but that's another thing during the pandemic is I just decided to lock my hair. You know what I mean? And
Oh,
that's
that's
saving the rest of it that's not falling out. So
yeah. Oh,
I'll
that's
save
good.
me from that channel
Yeah,
for another year or two.
that's funny. You locked it in. It's locked
Right,
in. You're not going anywhere, buddy.
right. Not the ones that want to stay. The ones that want to leave, I don't have a choice over that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
ones that want to stay, then you guys just form a nice tight bond.
Do you think you would shave your head? Have you, or
Yes,
you don't?
yes.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like that's the thing. I'm not gonna have that clown look. Like I was
Yeah.
starting to have the clown fro. You know what I mean? And that's when I was like, not a good look.
I mean, it works when you're on stage. Hey, it's Pro guy.
It's Homie the Clown.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, see, you know what it is? That's what it is. When your trademark, or not your trademark, but your hair, like for me, I mean, dude, I was like bright red hair. That was my thing. And then I remember I started noticing, like, once I started going bald and this and that, I was like, let me just cut it down lower and lower. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I mean, when I say eventually, 3 years at a time,
Right.
you
Oh
know,
no.
that's the thing. You can't, you did a smart move. Like when you go from like the fro to like to, you know, like you said, the clown for or whatever, and now you've done this, so people get used to seeing this, and then eventually, if you did cut it, it's like, you know, as opposed to going from like a lot of
Oh,
hair to like nothing, you know.
right, right. And then see that was the other thing about the pandemic. It gave me that amount of time to do a change like this. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
that was always what I was afraid of before. Like, oh, it's gonna take a while to grow, and then people are gonna see it growing and
yeah,
auditions and all this other crazy shit you say to yourself. But the pandemic is like it's nothing going on right now. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So go for
You know
it,
what?
you know.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting to you know, also like if you're a guy, if you're watching this and you're starting to go bald, it is a little easier when you get a little older. You know, like it would be tough if you're like, you know, in your early 20s. You're like, dang, but
Right.
as you get older, you know your facial hair
It's
matures.
kind of expected. You know
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
expected. It kind of, yeah, exactly. You know what's weird, man, is like once I shaved my head, I started looking like more people. Like I you know, I started looking like other people, you know,
Vin Diesel.
yeah, Vin Diesel, Jeff Ross, you know, like
Oh yeah, Jeff
Bruce Willis.
Ross.
Yeah, seriously, I'm getting that. Like, here's the Jeff Ross, or
Right.
you know,
Oh yeah. Okay.
there's
Yeah.
different.
You throw a
Like
top
here,
hat on.
yeah, on stage, I always do that. Bruce Willis, like I suck my cheek in. Oh, Bruce Willis. Yeah. I don't know if I look like him now, but
If you
um,
squint real hard, then
exactly.
yes, I do see it.
Way back, I'm Bruce Willis. But yeah, but yeah,
Uh,
that's interesting. You know, did you during this pandemic? So do you have you been getting into any like old school stuff, like just like board games and stuff like that? Did you ever go through that phase?
no, no. What I picked up that I was really glad about was working out, man. Like, and with
Mm,
my own little house weights. Like that was always something I said if I had time to do, I would get back into doing was working out consistently. But that's the
yeah,
one thing I picked up that I hope I can keep going forward. You know what I mean? It's working out and riding my bike like you've been doing. I've been on that, you know what I mean, quite a bit. So I think,
hey, isn't
that's
bike
one.
riding like it's so meditational? I got a bike. Um, so you know we're splitting our time between Burbank and Fresno,
Oh,
and like
okay.
up at the farm, and so I ride the bike. That's where I'm at now, and I ride the bike up here because I don't have to deal with like looking out for traffic, or you know I have a plate. You know what I mean? Like just on these, there's nobody out here, so I can just like ride and listen to podcasts or listen to music or talk on the phone or just even just nothing, silence, and
No,
just, you know what I mean?
it's
It feels great,
therapeutic.
right?
It's super
Yeah,
therapeutic. It clears your head, yo. Like to me, that's the biggest part. You know what I mean? Like, of
yeah,
course, the
yeah,
exercise is great, but like literally, when I get done with my ride every day, like I have a plan for that day. You know what I mean? Like thoughts just come to your head that usually don't come when you're sitting at home or driving in your car or whatever. It's something about that air just blowing through your brain or something. It's just like
yeah,
fresh
yeah,
thoughts
yeah.
come in. So
Do you ride your? I'm sure you do. Do you ride your bike without hands? Also,
I mean, I can, but
Hmm.
I'm actually riding well, not in traffic, but like down Venice Boulevard to Venice Beach. So I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
paying attention. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. It's a little different. You know, that's I'd have to be a little bit more alert. You know, like out here, you know, I don't have to. I can see there's nothing really. So,
You might run
so
into
like
a
I'll be,
deer.
yeah, yeah. And there are coyotes out here, but like I'll just take my hands off and I'm just riding like upright and just like man, this feels great, you know. And like I don't know, it's just it's interesting how when you think about when you're a kid and you try to ride a bike, like it's all new and wobbly, and then you
You
get to
got
the level
training
where you're
wheels on.
exactly, you know, and then eventually you take the training wheels off, and then you're just riding, and then after that you just no hands, and you're just like just knowing that the balance is there, and you're right, it does feel fantastic. What kind of bike do you have?
A Raleigh mountain bike. It's
Oh, cool.
nothing super fancy, but I've had it for a long time. It's a sentimental bike kind of.
Is it do you have a 20, is it 29 inch or 26?
That's a good question. It's a big frame though. It's a tall frame. It's like a tall person's bike. So if 29 is like the larger size frame,
Yeah,
because it actually is a bigger size. You know what I mean? Because it
that's probably what
actually
you got, because you probably got to. They call them. I think they call them 29ers. And
Okay.
because that's what I have. And because I was going to get the one that fits more my height, because I think I'm 5'10" and a half, and it was like, if you're between 5'6" and 5'10", get this one. And I was like, ooh. And the other one, like the bigger bike, I said, if you're 6'1" and above, but I got the bigger bike, but I gotta be honest, it feels great. Like it just fits better, like, because every now and then I'll ride my son's bike and I'm like, like it's just a little bit harder, and like.
I was just about to say that because I had a smaller bike, and when I was on that, I felt like a little kid. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, because I mean I'm 6'4", so I need a bigger bike. So my bike is perfect. Like it feels like it fits, So I'm probably a 29er.
Yeah, it's great, man. Bicycle, it's like, yeah. So I've been doing that, and like it's funny you said about the weights. Like out here on the farm, if you guys go to my YouTube channel, you'll see some of the home gym ideas I've done. Kareem, I've had a ball building this stuff, just making it, not even building it, just like figuring it out. Like I made a couple of heavy bags. Like I made my own boxing gym out here. I made 2 heavy bags. The one of them, the first one I made, I got a canvas like tote bag you get like at the Army surplus store, and I just jammed it full of old clothes. So it's full of old clothes, and then give it a little extra weight. I took an old like medicine ball that I had that it's real soft, so it doesn't matter if you punch it. And I put that in the middle, and I surrounded it by clothes, and it's great. Like I put a couple garbage bags around it and duct taped it, so it's like waterproof.
Right.
And it feels great just to get your aggression out, just to get the energy, like just punching. I wouldn't say the aggression, but you know what I mean. Like there's something about like,
oh no,
tension, and then you're like, stress of life, and then you go out there and you're just punching it, you're out of breath, you're like, this feels great to actually like do this. And then the second one I did, my son, we're getting ready to throw away up at the farm like an old mattress that he'd only used a few times, and it was from when he was a little kid. So I talked to a boxing trainer, an ex-fighter, and he's, oh yeah, he goes, you could just roll it up and put it in an Army duffel bag. I'm like, oh, great idea.
Wow.
I did that one, and that one's a little light, so when you punch it, it kind of like flies around a little too much, but it's good to have it as an option. And so I did that. You know what's great? Like if you could, this is an easy do-it-yourself at home thing. Buy a couple pool noodles, and for $2, you can build like, just have a target, and you make the pool noodle like upright, and that way when you punch it, it kind of comes back, and you just have something to kind of aim at, and like you punch it, it just,
remember those little dolls when you were kids that you would blow up? You could do that too. You would hit them.
Down to the toy store.
So you're making those now.
I got the pool noodles. I got that. All kinds of fun stuff, man. I got these tires. I've been throwing tires around. And
I saw that video. I saw you doing that. I was like, okay, yeah, he's really with the farm workout now.
I know. I got the
pushing tractors up hills.
Exactly. All that. It's so fun though. It's like, I figured out how to do pull-ups like out here, because I really could have. I found I bought a rope, and if you just take the rope and you kind of have it go back and forth between about 5 times, almost like a tight wire, and you jump up and you can like pull yourself up by just a rope.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're
just
all in, Darren.
Little things that I'm like, man, it feels great to like discover it, and then like, wow, I can actually do this.
So let me ask you, I mean, I know you, what I mean? So that's why we started off just having, a regular conversation, but some of the guests may not know your full background. So tell us, like, how did you get started in stand-up?
Well, I got started by being like that funny kid in school, right? Like with people that I was comfortable around, like I wasn't the guy that would be like in front, but if there was a situation and I could be funny with it, even back in the day, even high school, this is back in the 80s. All right. This is, I used to write these little funny raps. And so, and back then, like I said, with the bright red hair, the glasses, especially back then, it was unexpected. Like it just wasn't, I think there was like the Beastie Boys or whatever, but other than that, you just didn't, I look like a little nerd, man. Like you just couldn't, So whenever I would rap, just the shock value alone, be like, the white boy can rap. Hey, come here. And like, so I kind of got this reputation, and I started realizing what it's like to have a crowd gather around me, and I'm beatboxing, and it was just like this feeling of like, wow, like, but I still didn't think I was truly funny, because I remember like I'd be in the locker room, getting ready for my, swim, like swim team, or no, actually at that time I'd be in the locker room. Either it was PE or it was for cross country. But I remember like the football players and the basketball players, to me, they were funny, because they were like, they would just cap on each other and do the dozens. And I would be like this little nerd, like, oh, that's good.
Right. I'm going to use that.
Exactly. I'm going to put that in a rap. But I remember, but listen, I joined a speech and the speech and debate team. And what was great about that is you're basically writing down stand-up routines, because it was called humorous interpretation or original prose of poetry. And and I found out later, guys like Gabriel Iglesias, a comedian named Jen Kober, the Greg Wilson, Sully McCullough, a lot of people went that route. We're on the speech and debate team. They call it forensics, but
really?
Yeah, there's probably even more that I don't know about, but like
I did not know that.
Yeah, it taught youth, people, a way to like create, streamline their ideas, get them out there, and basically entertain, like, so I went from that to excuse me, this kid. I remember I took this class in a community college, and he was it was called it was basically, I forget what it was called, but it was trying to teach people how to make money in the entertainment industry, how to make a living, how to, and I remember one of the things, like, I'll never forget, he said, the entertainment industry is like it's like a pyramid. It's like, picture a pyramid. He goes, there's a lot of people at the bottom, there's a little bit less in the middle, and there's very few on top. And he goes, but you can still make good living in the middle. And he goes, so I thought about that, I remembered that. And he said, and
that's
also
great. I love that.
And also, here's what you do. Here's what I like to do for my podcast. I'll take something like that, and I'll edit it, and I'll put that at the front to kind of like lure people in, like,
right. Right. Tips from the professional.
That's right. If there's a moment where I'm like, okay. So another thing is, I remember from back then, it was called, you talk about bombing or not having a good show or a set. They called it MAP, MAP, material, audience, performance. He's like, what can you control? You can control 2 out of those 3 things, is what they told us. Like, you can control your material, you can control your performance. You can't necessarily control the audience, but I realized as time has gone by with material and performance, you kind of can.
You have
can
some
guide
control.
them. Yes. So those 2 things just stuck out with me. And there was a guy in the class that would, drive down from Fresno. This is in Fresno. He would drive down to LA and go to the Comedy Store. And so he was kind of like, he'd come back up and tell us what it was like. And this is, back in like 88, 89, 90, somewhere in there. And he was a local comedian, and he had like local gigs, and he started giving me like, he's like, you could do this. And I go, really? So I basically, the first time on stage, I just did my funny speech from college. And
nice.
And that was kind of my break into like, what it was like. And I did comedy for about a year in Fresno.
In Fresno. This was in Fresno.
Yeah.
You started in Fresno?
Started in Fresno.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Back then it was great because there was, I got paid pretty much right away. I mean, there weren't a lot of comedians there. There would be like 5, 6 that were getting paid back then, I guess, if I were to remember right. And we would do these. There was a guy, his nickname was Mr. EE. And Mr. EE, shout out to Ellery. He would set these gigs up, and he was a character. He was like,
really? Mr. EE was a character?
Yeah. We had this. It was called the Comedy Crew. We're the Comedy Crew. So the Comedy Crew, he would set up these gigs like at, youthful detention centers, bowling alleys, little like mountain resorts, whatever we could, like restaurants. and we'd always get paid, man, like $25 at least just to start, which is great. Like to
And
start
this is in
out.
the 90s.
This
Comics
is like
aren't making
89.
that today.
Exactly. I know. I know. I have to call it Miss. Hey, Mr. E, are you still
You still
around?
got those gigs?
I know. I got more time now. I can't do
Let's do a youth center or something.
exactly. You know what's funny is back then he told us, you know, he basically was trying to teach us like to have a hook and have a thing so people remember you. And I remember what was my okay, so there was a singer named Simply Red. You ever heard of him?
No. But
Simply Red.
that's okay though. It doesn't mean he wasn't famous.
Yeah, he was famous in the 80s, Simply Red. And so I remember Mr. E was like, see, you'll be the Simply Red of comedy. And I was like, I'm glad I didn't go. I'm glad I didn't go there. I was like, no, it's gonna be Darren Carter, you know. But yeah, so anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. So one day, Great America, the theme park up in the Bay Area, they came to Fresno City College, they had auditions, and they said that they were looking for atmospheric performers, people to entertain people in line for roller coasters. And I auditioned, I got the part, I got to leave Fresno, I got to move to the Bay Area.
Oh, nice.
And it was a hell gig, but it was great. I did like about 11 shows a day. Some of them I'd be opening up for like you know, a puppet show. Some I would
11 shows a day? How long?
It was probably like
how long?
15 minutes. And it was probably like 10 shows. And I considered one of them a show, but it was really just you're the announcer introducing the ice skating dancers. But they needed someone with personality to be like, ladies and gentlemen, are you know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Wait. You did that 11 times, not that introduction part though, but you did a 15-minute set 11 times a day?
Pretty much. It was, well, I would say at least 10 times a day. And then the 11th one was the announcement. But I mean, the only one that was really felt like a real show was when I worked in like the saloon and there was a band that I would open for. That was one where people would actually have like a mug of beer and I'd be out there doing my thing. And because the rest were kind of weird. Like you might be opening up for like those mascots, you know, with the characters. And so there's a lot of, or you might be.
And here's Goofy.
Yeah. And like nowadays it wouldn't even work because people are on their phones, you know, like they don't need to be entertained in line for roller coasters. But back then their idea was that people are standing around, you know, you could walk up and be like, hey folks, gotta tell you, blah, blah, blah. But see, I didn't really have those kind of jokes. I didn't really have a costume either. So it was kind of weird. And there was no.
Who is this guy?
Exactly. So it was like
a teenager walking up to you.
Yeah, because I was kind of, you know, young back then too. I was 20, you know, so, you know, but it got me, you know, a lot of stage time, a lot of breaking out of my comfort zone. I was actually, honestly, I was pretty comfortable because I was already kind of outgoing, like when I wanted to be. So, and you know, it was silly little impressions and beatboxing and stuff like that to kind of, you know, bring him into my world.
Right.
But from there, I would do the open mics at night. I would do little comedy gigs at night in the Bay Area. We drive up to San Francisco to the Punchline. You know, I started getting work as a feature. After that, I got another big break, and that it came right at the right time because my car was broken down, and I was like, dang, am I gonna have to move back to Fresno? I don't know what's gonna happen. And you know, roommates were moving, so I was like, wow, what am I gonna do? Like, so I got a big break where I got hired to perform with two other comedians. They just pick random comedians, and you would do a college tour. You'd fly out to Kalamazoo, Michigan, get in a tour van, and drive from gig to gig and stay in a hotel, or sometimes finish the gig and drive all night to the next town. And you'd go in August and you'd come home in November. So it was like you were like a touring band member. And
wow.
That was a cool gig because they would, at the time, because I was young, you get to see the country. It was direct
3 months.
deposit. Yeah, so you'd make a weekly paycheck, you know, and you'd get out there. And I was able to save enough money to have a car when I was done with the tour, because I did it from August. I did it for three or 4 semesters, and first semester was one of the most difficult because you're just gone and you're like, you're going to like places like York, Pennsylvania, or just places I never heard of, never seen. And it was interesting growing up on the West Coast to going on the other side of the country and feeling like real humidity for the first time, like in August, where you're sweating, you're on stage, you go outside to get some fresh air, and it's even hotter outside. Like, wow, like all this stuff was just different. I remember the pizza was better, like just different. Like it was like, so well, I wouldn't say better, but it really, at the time it was like the pizzas that we would get were like usually from some mom and pop place, not a chain. And you're like, wow, like everything
They
was
just made this.
yeah, everything was just different.
Man, how was the material? Like I mean, again, coming from the West Coast, you're a kid. I'm sure your material was like, probably a little different.
Yeah, some of it did well. Some of it was like, like maybe I didn't, I usually would do really well with those things, but then I had some shows where, like maybe it was too like, I don't know, like not that funny yet, or maybe it was a little too like not
Blue?
PC. Yeah, okay, maybe that. Right. I mean, like that. Have you ever heard that expression, like the showing over till the fat lady sings?
Yes.
So I remember doing a joke based on that, and like it just bombed totally. Like, but I realized maybe I didn't say it right. But also the kids are really sensitive, even like 30 years ago.
Right.
Like I did think about karaoke, and then we're all singing karaoke, and then this wouldn't work in a club. Maybe back then it would work, but not in a college. They're all like insecure about themselves. I'm like, yeah, then this fat chick gets up and sings, and the show is over.
Oh, okay. The fat ladies. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
So I basically did that joke and dropped it. I was like, I ain't gonna do that joke anymore. But
so 30 years later.
Yeah, 30. I'll bring it up on Kareem's debut podcast. Canceled.
I'm gonna tuck this one away.
Exactly. That's gonna be a
rainy day.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think I was also kind of close to their age back then, so that kind of worked for me. I was in my early 20s. They were like in their late teens, maybe early 20s, maybe. So, a lot of our stuff could relate. If you do colleges later on in life, you'll realize like even your references, a lot of them they're not going to get. Like just not into it. They're totally into, and I think that's okay, because I don't need to stay in the mindset of a
college
18.
kid. Right. Now, your kid's almost in college now.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm getting my information. Actually, what's kind of made for me personally is I joined TikTok about a month ago, so I'm kind of like getting back into learning what the trends are, what's happening, because for a long time I could care less.
Right.
I still don't care as much, but
Right. So how did you get to San Diego? Because that's where I met you. I met you in San Diego probably in the mid 90s. You know what I mean? So how did that transition happen from the college gigs?
Yeah, I saved my money. I had the car, the used Honda. I said, I want to get a Honda or Toyota, something reliable. I don't want any more car problems. Hold on one second. I moved to San Diego. I wanted to leave the Bay Area. I was like, no more Bay Area. Let me go to LA, but I was still kind of scared to go to LA. So I had a friend that lived in San Diego. They told me about it. I rented a room in a Victorian house in downtown San Diego, and my rent was, get this is great. It was on Market and 21st Street in that neighborhood, somewhere around there, and my rent was $300 or $285 if I raked the leaves. And so my joke back then is like, around the first of the month, I'd be out there shaking a tree. Come on, $285. Hello, landlady. Yeah, but it was great. I rented this room and had my own, like basically my own first apartment without any roommates or anything. And it was great. Like I could decorate it the way I wanted to, or just have a place to go. And at night back then, we'd go to the Comedy Store in La Jolla. We'd do the comedy night shows. The Bahia Hotel had the comedy aisle. You pick up a few gigs here and there, and I did San Diego for a couple of years, and then eventually I drive up to LA, and I had a pretty good like I don't know. This happened over a course of like a year, maybe a year and a half. I became a regular at the Comedy Store. I got passed by Mitzi Shore. I became a regular at the Laugh Factory. I booked a movie called Savage, where I back when I had my hair is longer, and
You
I'm
were
in
a
this karate.
savage.
I was a savage, yeah. And then I also booked a Miller beer commercial, and that was really the only national commercial I've booked. But that, as you know, especially back then, like
Right,
the
that was
residual,
huge.
it was
I've
huge. Like
made it.
you get these checks, you're like, oh wow, like it was great. Like a security, finally, I don't have to do any other like part-time jobs or nothing really. It's like so. And then I moved to LA, and I was there for about a year, and somebody spotted me. They happened to be at the Comedy Store. They said, we're doing this festival, and at that time I was talking about growing up in Fresno in a Latino neighborhood and what it was like. They used to nickname me Rooster. Hey, what's up, Rooster? Do my homework, Rooster. And I had the backpack, and I'm walking, and
I
so they
remember
had,
it vividly.
yes, they had me audition, and so I got it, and then I got to go to San Antonio for the Latino Laugh Festival, and from there I booked a manager and an agent, and then your career just starts. You start getting things. You have someone representing you, and that's kind of what happened. That's how I got my start, and how things kind of happened for me, and it's yeah.
It's been a great ride, man. Again, I met you in San Diego, so from that point on, I've kind of seen, I've seen the growth, and it's just crazy to see how people develop. It's like that's another one of the parts of this business that is so cool. Is like you actually get to see people grow from like, basically working something out to have it be a polished, a finished product.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like I look back at so my first album was in 2000. I have 4 comedy albums. The first one was in 2000, and then I did another one in 2010, 2014, 2016. So there's a gap, and I think the reason that gap is I didn't realize that that you could get residuals and royalties if they're played like on Sirius XM. I don't think Sirius XM was really around in the early 2000s. So
Right.
I was focusing more on auditioning and live shows and that kind of thing. But I realized like if things, like once they kind of slowed down, and I'm being very transparent here, once the auditions kind of slowed down, the movie roles slowed down, then you realize like, oh wow, and this will happen to a lot of performers. There's ups and downs and all that kind of stuff. So I think when things do slow down, what you got to do then is you realize like, oh, I've got to click things in gear and make things happen for myself. Do some self-produced albums, do a podcast, start a YouTube channel, figure out something, write a book, get stuff out there. Because when things are just kind of given to you, you don't really, not that you don't work as hard, but you just work in a different way. You know what I mean?
You don't know how to
you ever
create things.
Yeah, you don't know how to create. You're just relying on, like somebody on Wilshire sending you in some office to audition, or you're relying on, and once that kind of goes away or doesn't happen as frequently, you're like, oh man, I better put my stuff. And which is great, because when people do discover, Chris Rock had this great thing that he said. He said, if someone's car is broken down on the side of the road and they're out there like hitchhiking and trying to ask for help, people just keep driving by. He goes, but if they get out and they start pushing the car, people will pull over and try to help them. And I think that's what's happened. When people see that you're starting a podcast, that you're trying to do something, they'll help you. I remember the first month that I put my, Pocket Party podcast out there, like I started getting help. Like people like would retweet it and share the link. I was like, wow, because I think people are they're rooting for you, but if you don't have anything for them
if you're not pushing that car,
yeah, so yeah, I don't think anyone's necessarily against you, because sometimes people might be like, they're holding me back, but I don't think they are. I think it's just, if you put something out there,
they want to see you motivated. They want to see some effort. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I love that analogy. That makes great sense, yo. I'm about to get outside and start pushing my car as soon as we get done with this.
Yeah. We're out there riding our bike with no hands on. Hey, I don't need any help. No. No, but like for example, I have a buddy. He'll see that I'm on the road somewhere, and he's always like, how come you never take me? But I hate to say it. I've actually told him this. I said, you got to also do stuff. You got to like do a podcast, a YouTube, but you can't be just like
waiting for me to take you on the road.
Yeah. It's like, or whatever. Like people have to, like you got to, you know what I mean? Like it's, you also want to surround yourself with like-minded people that are like working on something, trying to be productive, you know?
No, I totally get it. I totally get it, yo. And it's crazy because, I mean, again, I'm sure this has happened to a lot of industries, but like during this pandemic, man, it's been a lot of change in the stand-up world. You know, we've lost a lot of comics. I mean, literally lost, like people have passed, and then a lot of people like are leaving town.
Yeah, Nashville, Austin, Texas.
Yeah, like, well, Joe Rogan, supposedly Joe
Yeah.
Rogan is opening a club in Austin. So
Yeah, I heard that. Heard it's going to open in July.
I mean, that makes it seem like he's not coming back, you know?
Oh, I
What
know.
do you think? Do you think, what do you think the future for comedy in LA is? Or how do
I
you
think
feel
that,
about the future for comedy in LA?
well, I see that they are still they're starting to do more shows. Like I'm starting to see more flyers and stuff. And I think it's going to be in a sense, kind of like how on one level, how it was before, like they'll be using, you know, certain comedians because they know they have big followings, they got name recognition. So there's going to be those kind of shows. And I also think there's going to be, I think this time there's going to be, in addition, I think there's going to be more opportunities because you're not just going to have to rely on certain, you know, like 5 clubs or 6 clubs or whatever it is. There's going to be those clubs. And then I think other clubs are going to be popping up. And I also think, because I know for a fact there's 2 clubs popping up. There's one across from the Haha. It's on Lancashire. It's called
Comedy
something like that.
Chateau?
Yes, that's it. Comedy
Oh,
Chateau.
okay. Right, right.
And then there's one in
So that's gonna be
uh,
across from Haha?
yeah, it's on Lancashire from what I understand. And then there's another one. Excuse me. It's Bellflower. There's one in Bellflower. I think it's called My Stand Up Club or something like that. And that one was starting before the pandemic because I followed them on Instagram and I would see them even like in the darkest days when you didn't know what was going to happen. You would see that they would like kept posting photos of like, we've just put the booths in, we've just painted the outdoors. So that kind of made me feel good. I was like, that there's some hope.
Right.
But I'm thinking also, like, I think with comedy, there's going to be like these backyard shows. People are going to, you know, when you come to the backyard, they did that a little bit before, but now people are really realizing like, oh, you know what, we could do this way. And, you know, you know what I mean? Like you can
Oh
become a
no,
paid.
I was gonna say I've done a couple like that. Like where people have pools and like the comics are on one side of the pool and then the crowd's on another side of the pool. Like actually Ahmed started one at that Venice compound. That's actually a really cool gig. It has like an outdoor Dublin's vibe to it.
Oh, let me ask you, how is parking over there?
It's actually not that bad. Like I
Okay,
found street parking every time, like
yeah,
for
you asked
free.
me to do it. That was one of my first questions. I was like, I wonder how parking is because I'm
Because
like,
it's like not right on the beach. You know, when you get right to the beach, the parking is crazy, but it's like more in a residential area.
oh,
So it's parking for the people that live over there. You know what I mean?
okay, and you feel like your car is safe. It's not like a lot of chaos going around it, or
Yeah, no, I mean, Venice is Venice. You know what I mean? They
yeah.
have their homeless population. You know what I mean? But it doesn't feel any more seedier than anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not overly seedy, but I'm not gonna say you're not gonna see any riffraff. You know what I
Because you know, like
mean?
in Hollywood, sometimes I'm like, I'll park my car here, but I go everywhere. I take the car everywhere, but
Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely not a place that you would not feel safe in. And it's a really cool gig. I'm actually doing it this weekend. You know what I mean? So quick plug
I got
for
offered a
that.
gig a couple years ago. I got offered a gig a couple years ago in Venice. You know that other one that's in
The
Venice Beach? I forget.
underground.
Yes, but I couldn't find any parking, and it was like frustrating.
Oh. So that's why you
like,
asked that.
yeah, because I went from the Ice House where there's plenty of parking, great show, like just I felt it was awesome. And then I drove down to Venice Beach, and I think I had too much coffee, so I had to use a bathroom. And I'm like, "There's no parking, and I got to use a bathroom." And then I finally parked illegally, used the restroom, and I was like, "I gotta get out of here." There's nowhere to park. But
So you
you
didn't do
know,
the gig?
I ended up not doing the gig because I
Oh
had to
wow.
be. Dude, I can't. There's nowhere to park. I don't. I
Right,
drove around.
right. And I'm a
Um,
comic. I'm not paying to park.
I know exactly. I
It's
guess
gonna
I
be
could have.
on, huh?
I didn't even know if there was paid parking. I just know that I had to use a restroom so bad, and I was like, ah, you know.
Right,
Hey,
right.
I want to bring up before I forget. Do you remember that one time we did a show in downtown Los Angeles, and do you remember? Do you know where I'm going with this? Where the paramedics or the fire department showed up, and then two people came in, and everybody was like, "Wow!" Do you remember those? Do you remember that?
Yes, it's so funny because I was gonna bring that up, and the two people were Suge Knight and Katt Williams.
Yes.
That's so
Yes.
funny. I was gonna ask you if you remembered that gig.
Yeah, that was a weird, that was a fun gig, but it was a little weird because I remember people got up and went out there because they're, oh, wow, I mean, what, how could you not? And then it was kind of weird too that like, does the ambulance just follow Suge Knight around? Like,
Right, right. And it's
do
so
they know
funny
stuff that
because
we don't know? Yeah.
like I never really get starstruck. I mean, I never get starstruck, you know what I mean? And I'm not gonna say I was starstruck that night, but like Suge was the first person that I met where I felt a little like, I mean, he had like an uneasy vibe to him. Like, cause I remember
Yeah,
we ended up taking pictures,
yeah,
took a picture with him, but it was like, I'm not gonna get too close to this dude.
yeah, yeah. I remember that. It was funny because I usually, what's the name of your podcast? Is it called Kool?
Yeah, the Kool, a
Yeah, because
Kareem, a Kareem
that's the only time
Matthews.
I saw you. That's the only time I've ever seen you look a little unrattled, like a
Right.
little
A little
uncool.
not cool.
Yeah, yeah, because you were like, I remember you were just like, should I get a picture? Like you were just because it was like that's how people are though. Like I'm the same way when there's someone that means a lot or I've listened to their music or I know they're, you know, and I'm just like, it's so funny to see that happen. You were like, did you finally get the photo? Did you? I
Yeah,
forget.
yeah. No, I did. And that's the thing. It was like he made you feel uncomfortable. Like usually when it's a celebrity, I mean, because even Katt Williams, like I'm a big Katt Williams fan, but you know, we see him around, so it didn't have that same feel
Yeah,
to it. You know what I mean? But Suge, it was kind of like, I want to get a picture, but something could really happen here. He already has the ambulance outside. He's prepared for some
I know,
bullshit to go down.
I know, I know.
That's funny
They,
that you said that because I was gonna ask you if you remembered the night that we ran into Katt Williams and
you
Suge.
find that photo, that might be a good promo photo for this
Oh, that's
episode.
right. I
Kind of pique people's
probably can
interest.
find that photo. That's a good idea. Because that was the
Sometimes I'll do
time
it on.
when like Katt had teamed up with Suge. Remember?
Remember?
That was around that time where they were kind of, I don't know if Suge was like his manager or he was on his label, but they were, you know, they were working together at that time.
Man, by the way, Katt Williams is one of the funniest comedians to me, man. When I listen to him on the radio, and it's probably pieces from his album or his specials, but it's hysterical. I just heard one of his bits I never heard before about steroids and taking steroids
Oh
and
yeah, and hitting the home run and running around the
yeah, yeah.
bases.
Oh, it's so is that from a special? Is that
Yeah,
what that's from?
it's pimping. That's to
Oh,
me,
when you talked about yeah.
that's an it's pimping is one of my top 5 comedy albums of all time.
Is that the one where he's like, feel my arms, you know, and then about
That's the
now
one
always
with Tink Tink, Polo Tink Tink,
wow, that's on there too.
about the
Oh
guy with the legs,
yeah. Remember when they made that into a cartoon? That was
the
hilarious.
prosthetic legs.
Yeah, yeah. And then the tiger one about the tiger and
Yes.
the
Yes.
gosh, that's some funny stuff.
Oh, because then he like to me, he just encapsulates all the aspects of comedy. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
physicalness, the writing. Like when he was using the stool as the
Yeah.
lion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah.
that shit was brilliant, yo. Like there's only been a handful of times where it's like I see a special or I see a comic and I'm like, yo, like that's what they're doing right there is next level. You know what I mean? And that's how I felt about It's Pimpin' Pimpin'. I was like, yo, that's a masterpiece right there.
I remember seeing him do I think he did it on a special, but I remember seeing him live. We did a show in Bakersfield, and this is how long ago it was. They hired him to host it. Like he
Oh
was the host.
wow.
Yeah. And I remember like he talked about overgrown kids being in strollers, and he put the stool down, and he got inside of the stool and put his legs out. It was hilarious.
Yeah, no,
Like,
he was very good at using the stool for different things, you know what I mean? But okay, so you say it was a long time ago when they brought him to host. Do you remember when he was Katt in the Hat?
yeah, yeah,
I used to he used to do Hollywood Park Casino
yeah,
as Katt in the Hat, and he would wear like the pimp outfit, you know, the Dr. Seuss, the crazy colors and the big top hats. And so he would like stay in the bathroom because he didn't want to like walk around Hollywood Park Casino. Actually, a lot of guys at Hollywood Park Casino are dressed like that, so he would have fit right in.
yeah.
And he would like hide
I
out
think
in.
I think I even remember him from the Bay Area, and it was kind of cool that he would, he kind of remembered me too, and it was interesting, like, especially like how he went on to success and was always cool with me. He always, it's funny, you see these stories every now and then in the news, but I never saw that side of him, and he was always really polite, and he has a thing where he calls people by their last names. He's like, "Hello, Mr. Carter, how are you this evening?" You know, I
Right,
saw him at the
right.
comedy store. Last time I saw him, literally the last time I saw him, I was like, I go, Katt, I gotta tell you, I'm a huge fan, and I love what you're doing. He goes, as am I, Mr. Carter, as am I. And I thought
Oh,
that
he
was so
remembered.
nice that he said that. And we talked
Right.
about a few things, and then life goes on, and you're like, okay, whatever. But I mean, the guy's just hilarious, man. He's one of my favorite comedians that I literally will, when he's on, I'll watch. It's
No,
like, you know,
absolutely. I feel the same way. And I mean, just like that, like I don't sit and watch a lot of comics. You know what I mean? Like, after you've been doing it so long, we kind of become a little jaded. It's like you just want your turn. You know what I mean? But like
yeah,
Katt,
yeah, exactly. I'll be like, okay, the person's funny. I like that's not funny, but I'm not like,
studying.
yeah. I've done the studying, and it's like, yeah. I mean, maybe I should keep studying, but I just,
No, no, and that's what I was gonna say. With Katt, I honestly feel like I can still watch him as a student of comedy. You know what I mean? Like, there's not everyone that I can watch and still learn from, but like him, I can still literally sit down and watch his specials and be like, damn, I need to add that to my game. You know what I mean?
yeah. Are you going to add more? You think you'll start vlogging more for your YouTube channel?
Probably. I'm just
Yeah,
I'm trying to push that card, Darren.
yeah. Just trying to get it going, and like,
If I push
yeah,
that
because
card, hopefully a few people will get out and help me.
that's right. You know what? A way that people can help you, guys. Listen, if you're watching this, leave a comment below. Just hit thumbs up and leave a comment. It'll help the algorithm. It'll let people
Mm,
know that what's happening on this channel is interesting. You know,
nice. I
that's something
love that.
it's so simple to do. Like when I post a video, there's a few people out there that they'll just say a couple words of encouragement and hit thumb, and I know that helps other people start to see the video. It's like,
Right, right. No, man, I really appreciate you coming on and being my first guest. You know, what I mean, this was really cool. I feel like we knocked it out the park on this one. You know what I mean?
yeah. Let me
Uh,
ask you this. So this is my Pocket Party podcast. I have about 159 episodes. The one before that, we did. My partner quit, so I think it's good that I'm not using a partner. I think it's good that you're not using a partner because you don't have to rely on anybody. How many is this your third podcast or
yes.
fourth?
Yep. This is my third one. I did the Chris and Kareem, and then I did one with Alfred Robles for a little while. And now this one. And it's funny that you said that. I basically came to the conclusion that I'm going to do my own podcast too by myself. Because, when you have a partner, there's all the different variables. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
two people. It's a lot simpler to
exactly.
do with just one person.
It's way simpler, and it's great because I mean, maybe one day you could have those guys on as a guest or whatever, or just have other people on as a guest. But it's harder when it's like, especially back, before Zoom, where we're going to meet at this place at this time, and then we got to book a guest. Now you're bringing in three people, and it's amazing when I realize like how many bands have stayed together, because when you realize it's just hard even when just a podcast partner, let alone
A
a
band.
5-piece band.
Right. No, I mean,
Like,
that's probably why they usually break up. You know what I mean? It's hard to,
yeah,
and then once you start tasting some success, that's when the egos really kick in. Like, this is my check. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's why
So,
it's like, yeah, just do your own podcast and get it going, and
and
you
someone
know,
will help me
um,
push it. So,
yeah, exactly.
you have anything you want to plug?
You know what? I just want people to you know, I just want people to be happy. You know, I want people to go to my YouTube channel, Darren Carter, and subscribe. Hit subscribe and share some videos and leave some comments. And my podcast is called Pocket Party, the Pocket Party Podcast. Other than that, I'm on Instagram, and all the links are on my YouTube channel. So check those out.
Cool, man. Again, I really appreciate you being my first guest. You know what I'm saying? I thought this is a really good episode. I'm definitely gonna be having you on again. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Fine. We should come on, man. I want to ask you some stuff about boxing, because I'm really into boxing. I'm learning more about boxing, but I still need to know more. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah,
I think that,
absolutely.
because my podcast and I'm not gonna say my weakness, but I don't really know much about sports. But I'm kind of not that interested. But I know, like, I think it would be.
That's right up my alley.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go to someone that knows and can explain and be like, this is how, things are. Like, I remember one time I was telling you, we're talking about boxing, and you were already a boxing fan. So you're like, he needs to get on his bicycle. And I'm like, what does that mean? And now I know, move around. Don't just.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. Let's book that. You know, I mean, I'd love to come on.
I honestly don't know. Like, I joined the basketball team for like 2 weeks, and then I quit or whatever. Like, it was just, I was used to playing the kids in the neighborhood that we're all like 10 years old. So then when I got around real athletes, I was like, so I don't even know, like for the longest time I would shoot my baskets from here, and then someone's like, no, you gotta put the thing up, and so they can't swat it down. And
well, I mean, you actually did get into boxing though.
Yes, boxing is one thing that I've stuck with, and like that is like, because it's because you can do it on your own time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like fighting anybody. I'm just literally, you could have those Karate Kid moments where you're just like on the rock balancing. You could literally just like be shadow boxing and practicing those combinations. Like one of the heavyweight boxers, he gave me a combo to memorize and just to work on, and I've been like 2 weeks ago, and so I've been practicing it, and it's jab, 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 right, jab, jab, right, hook, jab, jab. But he's like, you got to remember to move in between. So it's like jab, move. You know what I mean? Like, because you just don't want to be like standing, like, So, but even that was like
hard to pick up.
Yes, it's like I literally was that nerd with my phone recording it. So jab, jab, double jab, right, double. And he's like, he goes, remember to move though. You got to move. So,
if not, you'll be laying down after that first jab.
Jab, nap.
Jab slipped.
Yeah, I slipped and fell and fell asleep.
Oh shit, hilarious.
Well, cool, though, because I was just gonna say, like, it's just fun to like learn something new. If it's physical exercise, if it's podcasting, if it's YouTube, like how to edit stuff, like all that stuff is just. I feel like the world is ours as far as like not having to rely on
someone to come get you.
Come get you, Yeah.
Hey, I noticed you. We're gonna make you famous.
Yeah,
that doesn't really happen that much anymore.
Yeah, and I like I said, I listen to other podcasts. I listen to Joey Diaz, and Theo Vaughn, and a lot of those guys said even Theo said after his Netflix special, it didn't really sell tickets, and that was in 2015. So what really helped him was the podcast and being on other people's podcasts, getting that exposure. And Joey Diaz is like, you're absolutely right, because people get to know what's in your heart and in your soul. If you're just a character on a CBS TV show, when that show's gone, well, so's the audience.
Urkel.
Yeah. So there you go. People get to know the real Kareem.
Right. Well, thanks a lot, man. Again, you know what I mean? And thanks to everyone that listened to the first episode. And we'll definitely keep this going, man. This has been the first episode of the Kool, the Kareem Matthews podcast. Thanks.